I think about it, I realize that a good many of friends and acquaintances are really not from Anglo background. They might function in an Anglophone society, but they come from many different countries and speak the first languages.
Like your husband.
My husband, just for starters, Cantonese, Italian, Algerian, and so I don't think the Anglo society is as Anglo as it was. It's kind of non-Francophone rather than being Anglophone, I think.
I grew up in a very small village after the war. Actually, I was born in a house without a roof. It was bombed. We had no doctor, no dentist, because both of them had died in the war. So it was pretty rough to grow up. I went to school it was a one-room schoolhouse. And then my parents decided for me to go to gymnasium, which was about 26 kilometers away. After that, I had to go to the army, became an air traffic controller, and ended up in Frankfurt. And in Frankfurt, I met Carole, because Carole was a flight attendant for Air Canada. And I came to Canada in 1973. And of course, air traffic control was all in English. So I had no trouble coming here and going into the English world.
The first time he came here, after we met, the Canada-Russia hockey series was on, and he sat in front of the TV the whole time, and he was sold on. Then we went to the Laurentians for a week and stayed at a friend's cottage. He was sold on Canada then. When we decided to get married, our situations were quite different. I had a single mother with early onset Alzheimer's, and I'm an only child. And so I really could not leave. To be honest, if the situation had been different, I would have loved to have lived in Europe. The decision was really not even a decision because I really couldn't have left. It was a time when there was a lot of social unrest, and it was actually a very interesting period, I found, in a very unsettling sort of a way, but a very interesting period. And so through those years, I think I used French in my social and working life about as much as I did English. But then once we married and had children and lived in the West Island, pretty much disappeared.
Yeah, when I came to Canada, I didn't have a job. And I married Carole. We lived on the West Island. It was no exposure to the French-Canadian environment. You know, it was just in the English environment. It was the West Island. That's where I lived. And then my work took me all over North America and the world, actually. So it was open, which suited me. I started out at the airport on the ramp, and they sent me to Jonquière for a French course, which was pretty neat. But after a while, nobody spoke French. It was all English speaking in the airline world anyway. So I worked my way up into Air Canada, and eventually I became vice president, but it was all in English. I mean, most of the employees were outside of Quebec, of course.
Well, I realized that if Quebec had separated, that we would have had to move for work reasons. I always loved Montreal. I have found through my life quite often when I've been in other provinces visiting friends that I realize I'm much more of a Quebecer than I ever thought myself to be. But I also think I really dislike nationalism. And I think if Quebec had separated, I don't think I would have wanted to live in, it has nothing to do with the French language or people, but I would not have wanted to live in such a nationalist state.
It was the speech of Parisot after the referendum that turned me off completely, because it showed me that we are outsiders, as far as he was concerned, and the people around him, of course, and the PQ at the time.
I'm extremely pleased that both our children function in a completely bilingual world. Both of them work as much in French as they do in English. And I think that they probably understand Quebec society better than probably most people of our generation did.
I'm a Montrealer. I love Montreal. And so, because Montreal is open, it's a cosmopolitan society in many ways, multicultural. We have everything here. There's a French culture, there's an Italian culture, there's an African culture, there's all kinds of cultures here. So, it's, as far as I'm concerned, Quebec is multicultural because of the mere presence of Montreal.
I don't think that any Anglo or Allophone person could complain about the social system in Quebec, because we do have Anglophone institutions in every area. The Quebec government has always been extremely helpful if one needs to have information or deal with them in any way. Never, ever have been made to feel in any way that that it's wrong of me not to be functioning in French that way. I think we're extremely lucky that it's like that, and I would say that I imagine, could ask Ontario Francophones if they have the same good experience in that province as Anglophone Quebecers have. My community, to me, is people that I interact with on a daily basis. But I sometimes have a certain sense of guilt or regret, or I don't know what, that perhaps I hadn't taken part more in the larger life of Quebec.
So for me, that is part of the community, as are my neighbors. I am in my neighborhood, so I can walk to the store. I have all those advantages. That really is that's all part of the belong.